So, Oliva is an enormous Cuban-born African-American man. He has brown skin, short black hair, and a thin black mustache. At first, it's easy to mistake him for a man suffering from obesity, but on closer look, it is noticeable that his body is just composed of muscles which are extremely developed. Biscuit Oliva was born in Cuba and later on migrated to America. He made a living as a prized mercenary for the US government, as well as other countries, in capturing and exterminating malefactors or threats that were too powerful for them to deal with. He also serves as a specialized jailer in the Arizona State Prison due to the facility containing some of the most dangerous criminals, and him being the only person capable of truly keeping them in line. In his later years, he is dispatched by the USA to fight Yujiro Hanma, who was also training at that time and was not in his prime. After fighting his way through groups of drug cartel mercenaries, he encounters Yujiro at the leader's mansion and proceeds to kill the cartel's leader before trying to engage Yujiro in combat. Oliva rushes at the young Yujiro with his fist, but Yujiro avoids the attack. After a while, the Unchained introduces himself to him, and it turns out that the young Japanese recognizes who he is, and Oliva feels honored. After a short conversation, Yujiro tells that it is too early to eat Oliva and decides to leave. The Unchained is disappointed and begins to explain that he came all the way to meet him. However, Yujiro suddenly surprises him with a front kick that knocks him several feet back and allows Yujiro to make a getaway. As Yujiro leaves, Oliva smiles and says that Yujiro will surely become even stronger. So basically, Oliva is the strongest man in the Americas and the only man in the Arizona State Prison who has complete freedom, as he is considered prison staff. Apparently, at some point, the government decided that it was cheaper to pay for his massive meals, living quarters, library, and all the other expensive things he demanded in exchange for him living in the prison, where many prisoners are held thanks to Oliva. He's a high-paid mercenary for the US government, specializing in apprehending and terminating criminals or threats whose power are beyond the capacity of the conventional law enforcement and military to deal with. Oliva, like Yujiro Hanma, is also extremely arrogant and contemptuous of most of his opponents. While quite knowledgeable in the area of martial arts, he is by no means a genius at it, making him vulnerable to complex techniques and cheat tactics. He shares his profession with Yujiro, as both of them are high-end mercenaries. However, most governments stated that Biscuit is far easier to work with than Yujiro. Despite his arrogance and tendency to do things his own way, he makes a point to be good company to law enforcement who treat him with respect, and he also respects other martial arts masters who prove they can stand up to him. Real-life Biscuit Oliva. So there are a lot of interesting things about him in the story, and as exaggerated as the Baki universe may be, it is clear that the series tries its best to stay grounded in reality, as there are hardly any supernatural elements in the storyline. But while there are still supernatural things in Baki, the action scenes and the fights are often based on reality. In that regard, some characters in the Baki storyline are based on real-life people. For example, Muhammad Ali is based on the real-life heavyweight legend Muhammad Ali. Muhammad's fighting style in Baki resembles what the heavyweight legend used during his prime. In that regard, there's no doubt that some characters in Baki are based on real life, and the same case can be made when it comes to Biscuit Oliva. So basically, Biscuit Oliva is based on Sergio Oliva. For those who may be a bit too young to know, Sergio Oliva was regarded as the greatest bodybuilder of his generation and was, at one point, better than Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was born in Cuba before leaving the country to go to the US, where he made a name as one of the greatest bodybuilders ever. Sergio became the first 3-time winner of the Mr. Olympia bodybuilding title, and after having won the title 3 straight times, he even defeated Schwarzenegger in one of these competitions. So in that sense, Sergio Oliva and Biscuit Oliva are very similar. During his prime, Sergio was one of the most muscular men of his generation and was often regarded as the only man that could give Arnold Schwarzenegger a run for his money. In the same way, Biscuit is said to be the most muscular man in the Baki world. Biscuit even admitted that his muscles have always been more than enough for him to win fights against some of the strongest fighters in Baki. Oliva is a gigantic man. His muscles are dense enough to repel close-range shotgun blasts and thrusts from a katana even before tightening them. Even Sikorsky's barrage of sharp knuckle strikes fails to cut his chest. He boasts that the only training he needs to keep his muscles in check all day, with his usual training routine consisting of pulling a helicopter down to the ground with nothing but his bare hands. Oliva also has an incredible amount of endurance and stamina, as well as a massive tolerance to pain, being able to tank attacks which could knock, fatally injure, or kill others head-on with only slight or no injuries. He relies primarily on the strength and durability granted by his massive muscles, which is demonstrated when he managed to overpower a group of Olympic-level judokas with minimal effort, as well as when he easily broke the spine of Kaio Yu, who bragged that his body was as strong as diamonds. His punches are so strong that they have often caved in the chest of his opponents, killing them instantly. He once punched Jun Guevaru so hard that all the GPS of the world started to shake and malfunction. In his fight with Baki Hanma, he rushed through 4 prison rooms and punched Baki through a steel door. He slammed Baki to the ground and made a dent 30 centimeters deep. During the fight between Baki and Pickle, it was speculated that due to Oliva's size, strength, and fighting style, he would go for a frontal attack against Pickle if the two ever fought. It was also stated that this would be a fellowship of 2 warriors with the same beliefs. He also has an inhuman recovery speed, as he's managed to rapidly heal several hole-shaped scars he got from shotgun pellets just by eating steak. As the series went on, Oliva was still amongst the biggest muscles, yet he lost a sparring match with Baki and got destroyed by Nomi no Sukune II when Sukune broke his spine. He later gets all of his ribs broken by Nomi's sheer grip strength and was slammed onto the floorboard. Luckily, he survived, as Nomi stated that if it had been a solid concrete floor, he would have died. Later, after going through Kureha Shinogi's rehabilitation, Oliva returned to his heavy training to restore his strength, managing to get even stronger than he was. In his rematch against Nomi no Sukune II, he proved to be much superior to him in terms of fighting. Unlike the first battle they had, where they were fighting sumo, which was Sukune's specialty, Oliva proved to be much stronger in a real fight without rules or style of struggle, managing to stun Sukune with a punch that threw him into a car and lifted him with the impact. I personally think if Oliva manages to learn a fighting style, then he might come very close to Yujiro in terms of overall strength. So yeah, that's all that we know for now, and thanks for watching.